Okay, here we go. What's up and welcome to my live unboxing review of the Yoga 7i. Now, this is one of the most portable and affordable general laptops on the market, bar none. You got a 16-inch screen. It's a multi-use, multi-function device. It's a touchscreen enabled device. And you got a lot of nice features with it, considering its overall size, portability. It's very thin. It's a little bit over 4 pounds. And it has a USB-C adapter. So it's very, like the portable is also extremely portable to take with you. Battery life should also be very good. So this is just a general kind of ultra portable type of laptop. And we're gonna be taking a close look at it today. We've got a bunch of different tasks that we're going to go over. This is the checklist of everything that we're going to try to cover today in today's live stream. Of course, we'll be answering questions as we do the live stream. And, but yeah, we're going to just go into a detailed analysis. And at the end, we'll do a summary of everything that we have found out as well. So you can always skip around with timestamps when those are put in the description or in the pinned comment down below. And I also want to thank Best Buy for sending the Yoga 7i over for me to check out. Now, this live stream is not sponsored by Best Buy, but they did provide the laptop. That said, the final summary review will be sponsored by Best Buy. So I always try to have full disclosure about everything that's going on. But in this live stream, it is not a sponsored live stream. So I really appreciate all of you guys that tune in to my content and drop a like on the live stream if you enjoy it. And let's go ahead and get started. So to start off with, we are doing our top deals comparison. We've got a lot of deals. We're gonna go over the top 5 deals. These deals can be easily found over on my ranked laptop list. We have the top deals category here in the top, but out of those deals, I have marked 5 of the very best, and we're gonna walk through these 5 deals and why I think they are the very best so far. So first up, we have the Gigabyte G5 with the i5 12500H, which is a fairly capable CPU. It's not the most powerful, but it's enough to play the vast majority of games quite well. The biggest reason why this is one of the top 5 is this is the cheapest RTX 4060 laptop we have seen so far, coming in at $649. It's so insane. That's cheaper than most RTX 4050 laptops, except for one right now. I think there's only one 4050 that's cheaper at $599, which is the Acer Nitro 5, which in some ways is more attractive. I'll just talk about this one real quick. Than the Gigabyte G5 because it does have 16 gigs of RAM. And I would say that the overall laptop quality is also just a little bit better than the Gigabyte G5, but they're very, very similar. The biggest thing the G5 has is the RTX 4060, which has more VRAM, and it's obviously a more powerful GPU. Yeah, so the Gigabyte G5 for $649 is kind of insane. Next up, we have the Lenovo Legion 5. Now, this one is stepping up quite a bit because you get a QHD 165Hz 300 nits display, 16 gigs of DDR5, 5200 RAM, and a Ryzen 7 7735HS, which is a very nice CPU. But the big thing here is this QHD 165Hz 300 nits display is a big step up in terms of resolution, quality. The fact that you get a 4060 with a QHD display at $869 is pretty insane right now. So we're having some just really great deals in gaming laptops. It's a great time to be a gaming laptop enthusiast. There's so many awesome deals right now. So Zephyrus G14, another insane deal. We got a really phenomenal screen on the Zephyrus G14, QHD 165Hz, 500 nits, 100% DCI-P3 color gamut. This thing is probably the best looking display under $1,000 that I've seen so far. So currently $899, 8-core, 16-thread CPU, but it's only an RTX 4050. So if you go into this with a gaming plans to play games, you got to think along the lines of a 4050 is going to be maybe a bit of a challenge at QHD resolution, so you probably have to turn a lot of games down to lower, medium, maybe high settings. Older games, of course, will still be able to run at ultra settings at QHD with even a 4050, but it's just going to depend on the game and what settings you put it on in terms of gaming performance. But overall, I really like the G14. Another very ultra portable laptop, certainly a competitor to the Yoga 7 in that sense, that they're both portable. That said, let's move on to the Nitro 16. Nitro 16, again, a Ryzen 7 7735HS CPU, RTX 4070, and a QHD 500 nits display, but this is only 100% sRGB. 1029 right now. Phenomenal value considering the quality of the screen, the 4070, the display, the overall build quality of the Nitro 16 also felt pretty solid for a more budget-ish oriented machine. HP Omen 17 i7-13700HX, which is an excellent CPU. And then you've got the RTX 4080, 16 gigs of RAM, QHD 240 hertz, and it's $1679. Such a good deal for so much performance. Also comes with a 1 terabyte SSD. It's just phenomenal. So really recommend this as one of the top deals to consider. Currently, it's on Newegg if you're going to go for that. So those are the top 5 deals in gaming laptops as of December 8th. Of course, everything's going to be shifting around, and lots of new deals are coming up and going away, and we'll be adding all of those deals right here on this list. So let's talk Yoga 7i. Okay, so the Yoga 7i is a 2-in-1 touchscreen laptop, 2-in-1 being it can fold back on itself, and it has 4 different uses. You can fold it fully into tablet mode. You got this stand mode where the screen is just facing upward towards you, closer. This brings the screen closer to you if you put this on a table or on your lap. Like when you're laying in bed, for example, you can put it on your lap or when you're sitting down, and the screen is just closer so you can see the content better if you're watching a movie or a video. And again, it's a touch screen device, so really nice usability there. You can do it in tent mode here, which is flipping it backwards, facing down. And so that's also a very good multitasking capability. Like, depending on how you use it, you can really take advantage of the different 4 different usability modes. Now, this has a very similar keyboard to the high-end laptops like the Legion Pro 7i. The arrow keys are a little bit different, but for the most part, it feels very similar to like the Legion Pro 5 or Legion Pro 7i. I really love the key layout and spacing and feel of typing on the keys. We're going to get into all of this in more detail here, but I'm just kind of giving you an overview summary. You can see how thin this laptop is, utilizing USB-C power delivery for powering the laptop. So I think the perfect target audience for this laptop really isn't a pure gamer. This is more like the ultimate laptop that you buy for your mom or dad. Of course, you can play games on it, and we are going to test some games and CPU performance and graphics performance with the new Intel Iris Xe graphics in the Intel 13th Gen CPU. But you know, gaming is really not the focus here. We have a 60 hertz display. It's a touchscreen display. We've got a 1080p webcam at the top. We've got a fingerprint sensor. We're going to test all of this. And of course, we have an Intel i7 1355U processor, 512 gigs RAM, 649. So we're going to, I mean, what's the difference, right, between the Gigabyte G5 with, you know, an i5 12500H with a 4060 in it, but you know, let's talk build quality differences. Let's talk display quality differences. You know, there's a lot of things that make a difference between these two machines. And for someone who's not going to take advantage of the gaming GPU like RTX 4060, the Yoga 7i is probably just a better overall laptop for that person. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of this laptop. And of course, we're going to do detailed testing. We're going to take the bottom off of this Yoga 7i and yeah, I'm excited to check out what, I mean, I don't know if you want to call this ultra portable or an ultrabook, but it's close. It's in that vein. It's 16 inches. That's the only reason why I wouldn't necessarily call it. It's kind of like a large Ultrabook, I guess you might call it. Let me go ahead and check chat and see what's up. Exotic says audio is desynced. Thank you for letting me know. I will reset the audio. I did test the audio beforehand. 1 second, y'all. Okay, is the audio synced now? It's a bummer that it was desynced for a little bit there, but we fixed it now. Let me know if the audio is better, and we will continue on to unboxing the laptop. Sweet. Okay, thanks so much for letting me know, chat. Systems Reality Team says this would be perfect for my real estate work. Yeah, like this is great laptop to take with you, like to pull out and show clients. You can pass it to them in tablet mode. They could flip through pictures, and then you can open it back up and write emails on it. It's got good battery life, of course. It's Intel U processor, which focuses on power efficiency, all of that. So without further ado, let's get into unboxing the laptop. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is the Yoga box right here. You can see it does list the specifications here on the side. See if I can get it focused there. There we go. So Intel i7-1355U, 16 gigs of RAM. It's LPDDR5, I believe 4800 megahertz memory, 512 gig SSD. I don't know if it's upgradable. We'll find out when we take the bottom off this laptop. 16 inches WUXGA display. So large display, easy enough to see everything. You got that number pad because it is a larger display. You know, the smaller 13-inch chassis are not going to really be able to fit a number pad. A 4-cell battery, yet Lenovo does claim a 12.5-hour battery life. And I tend to believe them as long as you're using it in super optimized mode for, like, for example, turning the brightness down, not running anything super intensive, just typing Word documents or using Office products or maybe streaming Netflix, stuff like that is probably going to actually get you close to that 12.5-hour battery life mark. I don't know the watt hours in the battery yet, but we will find out today when we take the bottom off. So yeah. Here we go. So let's go ahead and open it up. Here is the USB-C power adapter. Now, because we don't, because it's just like a USB-C, we actually only have a 65-watt power adapter here. So it doesn't need much juice with an Intel U processor. This should theoretically be enough to give us pretty much max performance on this CPU, I think. Because usually I think it would peak at maybe like around 30, 35 watts. We'll find out. But Intel U CPUs are typically very power efficient. Let's go ahead and take this cable out and measure how long this power adapter cable is. And keep in mind that because this uses USB-C, it's very easy to get another USB-C charger if you need to. This is only about 6 feet. All right, 6 feet total length. All right, so you're going to have to be pretty close to a wall outlet unless you get an extended USB-C cable, which you can get them. You can get an extended USB-C cable. You just want to make sure you get one of the thicker, like rated for like 100 watt or at least 65 watts of power delivery with a 65 or a 100 watt USB-C power adapter from the wall. And then you can make this thing 15 feet long if you want to have a really long power cable. That's not a problem. It's just an important thing to keep in mind that the one out of the box is only 6 feet long. Kind of a con, in my opinion. I wish they had included one that's like 9 or 10 feet long out of the box. So let's go ahead and see what else we have in the box. Looks like we got some papers here. Let's take a look at the papers. Get the best from your PC with Lenovo services. We're thrilled that you chose a Lenovo PC. Enhanced PC performance and protection with Lenovo's full line of premium service. 15% discount when you upgrade your warranty. So if you're worried about your PC and you plan to keep it a long time, I've heard good things about the Lenovo warranty support. I've also had good experiences with Best Buy's warranty service. And, this is going to be, links are in the description. The link to Best Buy. And so most likely if you're going to buy this one, you're probably going to get it directly from Best Buy, and you could get the extended warranty through them as well. So depending on which way you want to go. Okay, so here is our pamphlet. We've got the Yoga, kind of a cool little thing right there. Get it started. So it's saying to plug into the wall and then plug into the laptop, and the power adapter is on the side, which is kind of interesting. Overview, you can see we have the power adapter here. See if I can get this a better view for you all. So we've got the power adapter, we got USB-C, we got a micro SD card slot. It's a Thunderbolt 4, HDMI 2.1. And then we've got a series of shortcuts that you should probably know. FN plus escape can switch between the function keys, between let me zoom in a little more. There we go. So FN plus escape allows you to switch the function keys between F1 to F12. And then, it switches between like the volume up, volume down. I'll show this to you. FN plus Q will switch between the different performance modes for like the enhanced performance, balanced, and then the eco mode, which, if you want best battery life, you'll go to the eco mode. But then if you want to play games or do other things that are high performance, you'll want to switch into the high performance mode. Control the keyboard backlight. So that's with FN plus the space bar. Enable or disable the touchpad, FN plus M. Show the device information, FN plus N. Change the display refresh rate, FN plus R, but that actually does not apply to this laptop because it's only a 60 hertz refresh rate laptop. We also have some FCC notices on this paper. Don't really need to show this part. Let's go ahead and pull this out all the way, and let me zoom out. All right, so those back in there. So the laptop comes in this plastic sleeve. Helps, protect it in case the box gets wet at all. Utin Jank says, can you please check fan noise on the stress test? Yes, we will be testing how loud this thing gets with the fan noise. So notice that when I just opened the laptop up, it turned on. I did not turn it on in any way. There's Windows Hello logging me in. I mean, that you don't get Windows Hello typically on any gaming laptop, usually under $1,000. Very rarely will you get Windows Hello. But here we have Windows Hello. We have a fingerprint sensor. We have an ultra thin build. We got a nice backlit keyboard with a number pad, a nice touchpad here. We'll fully test this thing out, see how it is. We're gonna be testing this, the display, the speakers, all of this. Let's talk about this little sheet that they included. All right, so (16:10) aspect ratio. If you're not familiar, most laptops until a year or two ago were 16:9. By making them 16:10, they're able to remove the bottom chin down here to make it a higher screen to body ratio, while not making the laptop any larger. Now, when you So AC power adapter needs to be connected the first time you turn on the PC. Keep that in mind. Otherwise, it won't turn on automatically. The system will update automatically, which may cause fan noise. This is normal, not a cause for concern. Just in case you were wondering, that's what they put on here, just to make sure you know. Bottom chassis is 50% recycled aluminum. That's kind of cool. They also have the 4 different modes. You have notebook mode, stand mode, tent mode, and tablet mode. And I'll go through different uses I've personally found useful when using those different modes with this laptop and previous Yoga notebooks that I've owned in the past. I have owned the Yoga 13, and I enjoyed it as a laptop. So, yeah. All right. Ben Fitzpatrick, hey Brandon, always enjoy these videos. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so here's the laptop. Let's show the modes. This is probably the most interesting thing about this laptop. When we flip it back this way, notice that the rotation of the display is already facing downward, okay? Also, the keyboard is no longer active, okay? So I'm touching the keyboard, nothing's happening on this display. It is only a touch display now at this point. So you can see I can move everything around. I can put it right here, move it to there. Split screen stuff, and yeah. So right here it actually goes through some different functionalities. All right, so swipe up for taskbar shortcuts from the bottom edge of your screen. Swipe up at the center of the taskbar to reveal the start menu. That's cool. It's useful. All right, stay up to date with a swipe. Swipe in from the right edge to see your notifications. So you can set up your notifications, like Windows updates, calendar updates, stuff like that to pop up over here on the right side. Arrange your windows. So you saw me do this a moment ago, but when you grab a window at the top, you can actually put it into like quadrants, for example, and split your apps between different areas of the display. So, you know, it works pretty well. This window, Epic Games, needs to be a certain size. That's why it's actually coming in a little bit larger than what it's supposed to be. But you can see if I open a few different apps here, and then we put them into these different windows, now we're getting the apps, at least mostly the right size. So very, very cool functionality in terms of showing off what you have on the device. Now, one of my favorite ways of using a Yoga notebook is taking the laptop and using it in bed like this. Because it's just like a giant screen, you know, right in front of your face, which is awesome. All right. So the four different modes, we'll go over them. We have notebook mode. You can type, use it just like you normally would. You've got tablet mode. When you're in tablet mode, it completely disables the touchpad, the keyboard in the back. You've got tent mode, which we were just showing off a moment ago. Does Windows Hello still Oh, it does still work. So Windows Hello still works even when you have the laptop upside down, which is cool. And then the other mode is flipping it over like this. And this mode in particular is useful for watching stuff in your lap. If you're gonna play games with a controller, and you can put this in your lap like this. Of course, from a gaming perspective, this is going to be an excellent cloud streaming gaming laptop. Using something like the Xbox Game Pass to stream games if you have good internet connection. You will be able to play older titles natively on the laptop display itself and with the native hardware here. But as you'll see when we do some benchmarks, the potential performance is more limited, obviously, than other dedicated laptops or dedicated gaming laptops in particular. So let's do our flex test. Let me get these lights arranged a little bit differently and get it focused in. Beautiful. Okay, so flex test, starting in the top right corner, going right to left, nice and, okay. Very firm, definitely some flex here right by the touchpad. Very firm, firm. Little bit of bend over here in the left side. Very, very firm. Very firm. Very firm. A bit of flex over here on the right side. And of course, going above the touchpad, usually the weakest part of the laptop, we got a little bit of flex here. But where you put your wrists will be right here and right here. These feel really solid. No problem at all in terms of functionality there. Now, when I move my fingers across the keyboard, I have not noticed any keys that are problematic. Wow, I'm just pressing a lot of keys right now. Like they all feel good. All right. And notice that there are two different levels of brightness. It's off, low, and high. And the keyboard backlight is very bright and easily viewable. You know, like this is easy to see the keys. All of the key emblems and logos are lit up brightly and fairly evenly, which is great. It gives you a very like high quality backlight experience for typing and using it in the dark. Now let's go ahead and move on to the port selection. On the right side, we have our power button. Notice there is an actual physical power button. You know, not many laptops these days have an actual physical power button. This one does. So we got a power button here. It will turn the laptop into sleep mode when you press it and wake it up if you press it again. If you do a long press on it, you can force the laptop to shut down. This is a micro SD card slot. So if you need to transfer footage from your camera or whatever, if you have a micro SD card, you can easily transfer it here without an adapter from your phone as well. You've got two USB-As. These are faster USB 3.2s, I believe. And this does feel very rigid. Like that's another thing that I will say, like in the hand, this feels good. It feels very strong, very kind of tanky. Where when you get a $650 gaming laptop, oftentimes it's very plasticky build, where this feels like it's all, I think it's all metal. Like it feels all metal. Okay, and then on the left side here, we have HDMI 2.1, two Thunderbolt 4s with USB-C support with DisplayPort out, as well as power delivery, and a headset. So a headset port, so you can plug in a headset 2-in-1. And of course, being Thunderbolt 4 enabled, you could theoretically hook this up to an eGPU or you obviously charge the laptop. This is how you charge the laptop right here. You also have Thunderbolt 4 docks you could use with this laptop. So there's a lot of functionality and flexibility with these two ports in particular because they are Thunderbolt 4. Now, as you can see right here on the logo, we've got an Intel Core i7, 1355U is the processor, and then we have the Intel Iris Xe graphics, the latest one in 13th gen, and we're going to see how powerful it is. It has been improving over the years. We've got, I think, 3 games we're going to test natively on the display, on this laptop hardware today at the end of the stream. So let's talk touchpad. This touchpad feels like it's a glass trackpad. I'm pretty sure this is a glass trackpad. It feels extremely smooth. It's large. We got an excellent click to it. No issues at all with the trackpad. It's surprising. This $650 Ultrabook has a glass trackpad, and the $2,800 Lenovo Pro 7i does not. But it does not make sense to me. That said, no issues with the trackpad. It's plenty large enough. It's got a decent click, and it feels really good. Now let's talk keyboard. Okay. So keyboard is very nice on this laptop. As I mentioned, it has a great feel. It's almost the exact same layout of the Legion Pro 5, Pro 7i. Very expensive laptops. This It feels exactly the same. It might maybe slightly less key travel. It's hard to, I can't tell if it is. But the number pad layout is very good. You've got a nice row of function buttons here at the top. Let's go ahead and go over all of those. Okay, so we have the FN lock button, this escape button. This is important. If you press FN plus FN lock, it'll light up. And this will switch the functions from the F1, F2, F3 to the volume mute buttons as the primary function. So you don't have to press the FN button if you want to go up and down in volume or change the brightness, which is quite nice. I love that feature. So we got mute, volume down, volume up, microphone mute, display brightness down, display brightness up, monitor switch. Then we have the airport button or airplane mode button, which will turn off your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. The F9 key is your settings. I guess that takes you to the Windows settings. That's a shortcut to this right here, which is interesting. I've never seen that kind of a hotkey before on a laptop. Then we've got F10 being your lock. This will lock the laptop up. And then F11. Let's see here. So I'm going to just get logged in again real quick. F11, what does that do? So F11 will bring up the Windows switch button. So you can click on a new window right here. Let's see here. Right now, is this still touch? Yeah, it is still touch enabled, even when you are just in the general Windows stuff. Okay, so let's talk through the last few keys, hotkeys here. So F12 is your calculator, and then insert has a little star emblem. I'm not sure what that is. The print screen button is going to bring up your snipping tool. So if you need to take a screenshot of something, it'll actually automatically pull this up, which is really cool. I love that. If you want to do a quick screenshot, it makes it very easy to just grab a screenshot. So then, because this has a number pad area, of course you have the whole num lock and all the full number pad functions, but above that we have our media key, so we can control pause, play, stop, rewind, and fast forward the tracks, which are great. The one downside for sure is going to be, I think, the arrow keys. They are not full-size up and down arrow keys. I much prefer having full-size up and down arrow keys here, but that depends on what you're used to. So keep that in mind. Yeah. Now let's see here. Is there anything else about this keyboard that you should know? I don't think so. I think it's an excellent keyboard. I really like the keyboard. It's got a great feel, great backlight. I don't think it's RGB enabled. I don't think you can change the color. Let's go ahead and open the Lenovo software and just take a look in it real quick. Okay, so here is the Lenovo software, and right now we are at 74%, and Windows estimates there'll be 5 hours and 3 minutes of battery life remaining. We are on Wi-Fi, we have Bluetooth turned on, we have our webcam. Well, I don't know if it's actually enabled, but it is open. Then we also have keyboard backlight enabled, and our brightness right now is at 100%. So that is, if you were to take another 25, that'd be like 6.5 hours at max brightness without doing too much in the background, right? That's what that equates to. Of course, you know, if we were to dim the brightness, you know, and this is not necessarily accurate 100%, but if you've been in a consistent usability pattern, usually it's going to be fairly accurate for that usability pattern when it does the estimate. Of course, as you change things, you open more things, you do more things, it'll go down or up depending on what you do. Parky says, hey, Brandon, hope you're doing well. Love the reviews. Thanks. Appreciate it, Parky. Okay, so this is the Lenovo Vantage. This is different than, this was just updated actually since I checked the laptop out the first time. Which is very interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look for the first time together. So this is the home screen. And on the home screen, there's not much here. Let's go to device details. So here's the device details. You can see we've got the a Western Digital 512 gig SSD, LPDDR5, 16 gigs. All right. Under system update, let's see. You can see I've already updated the BIOS. Let's see if there's any new updates. But this is where you can update the BIOS. It does automatically check this periodically, but I believe you have to manually say, yes, install the BIOS update, which I like that, generally speaking. I don't usually love restarting my machine and then suddenly it's in a BIOS update without me realizing it because Windows Update downloaded it or something. But there's no new updates. That's good. So under power, we have our rapid charge settings, battery health. It's a 72.8 watt hour battery. So even if we don't end up seeing that, we will be able to know how big the battery is just by looking at that. All right. And so rapid charge is basically a way to prioritize rapidly charging the battery as fast as possible, even though it may slightly damage the long-term viability of the battery. So if you're in a big hurry, like you only have 10, 15 minutes to charge the laptop and you need it to be full power as fast as possible, it's unlikely to do any damage long term. But if you constantly do it with rapid charge, I would say it's more likely to take damage as a lithium-ion battery in general. That said, rapid charge is a really cool feature for someone who's on the go and needing to top up their battery. And I do recommend it. I don't think it's likely to damage your battery or anything. That said, overnight battery charging mode. So what this does is it will only charge it up to 80%. And then near the time when you typically would wake up in the morning, it's going to finish the charging up to 100%. What this does is it prevents the laptop from being at 100% the whole night, because in general, lithium-ion batteries want to stay at 80% or less to maximize the battery longevity of the machine. So like a lithium-ion battery should last like 10 years when it's taken care of properly. Though in the past, laptops automatically charge to 100% every time. So Lenovo doing this is very good for making your battery last much longer. You can also just have it always charge only up to 80%. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants to make your battery last, you want to use this laptop for 5-10 years and you want the battery to never have to be replaced, I would just check this on and keep it on all the time, unless you know you're going to need a full set of battery juice, okay? Smart, power, and performance. Notice that we are currently in battery mode, and you can be in extreme performance mode even in battery mode. Some laptops do not let you go into the extreme performance modes when it's in battery mode, so that's interesting. Intelligent cooling is going to... interesting. You can also enable auto transition to extreme performance. So intelligent cooling is going to like give you a more balanced fan speed and system performance versus extreme performance. Let me just zoom in so you can see this a little better. Extreme performance is going to give you the maximum performance all the time, but probably be a lot louder on average, where intelligent cooling won't be very loud unless you're doing something very intensive. Now, under battery savings, obviously, this is going to try to maximize your power, your longevity of your battery. If you want the 12.5 hours advertised by Lenovo, you definitely want to be in battery savings mode. Though the laptop may not be as fast. It may be more stuttery and may take longer to load into applications. Inside of extreme performance mode is definitely the way I would go if you're going to try to do anything intensive like video editing, multitasking, lots of apps open. And obviously this laptop is plenty fast to do lots of multitasking if you need it to do those things for you. It's obviously just not going to be as fast as a full powered laptop that can do, like, 150 watts through the CPU. This is a portable package laptop, and it's designed to be that way on purpose, right? So it's just each user, it's trying to be a more premium portable laptop versus a powerhouse, thick, beefy laptop with a big power adapter and bad battery life or lower battery life. Obviously, this is trying to push for that portability meets enough performance that you can still do lots of multitasking. Okay, so flip to start. This features allow you to turn the computer on when you open the lid. So when I turned the laptop on, I did not press the power button when I opened it up. I just opened the laptop up and it automatically turned on. Always on USB allows you to charge your smartphone or tablet using the USB connector that is yellow coated or silk printed with these icons. So what they're saying is this one right here. See if I can get it to focus on. There we go. This one right here, the one on the right, this one is the USB power share. So if you want to plug in your smartphone and charge it when the laptop is in battery only mode, that's the one. This is the one you're going to want to use. Lenovo Vantage toolbar, I generally keep this off, but it's up to you if you want to turn it on. Same for the Lenovo Vantage widget. I like that they did not force you to have that on. Okay, under audio settings, we have dynamic, movie, music, game, and voice. Dynamic has usually been the best in my experience, but maybe music will be the best today. We'll find out when we do our speaker test. Display and camera, you have eye care mode. This will filters out high energy visible blue light to reduce eye strain. So you can turn this on and it'll make the screen look more yellow, basically filter out the blue light, which, some people prefer that. I usually like having the blue light. Daytime color temperature. So you can, again, change it to be more realistic colors or more warm colors. You've got camera mode. And camera privacy. This is really cool. Along the top here, let me show you this if I can. Right here. It's kind of hard to show it. There it goes. And let me make this just brighter for this moment. Okay, so this is a camera privacy shutter right here. I pull that over, you get a red thing right here over the webcam, so you can clearly know that it is turned off and no one can see you. So I think that's really nice. But keep in mind, when you do that, Windows Hello with the camera is not going to work. So you do have camera controls for contrast and brightness. I have not changed anything. Everything is set to their defaults right now. Okay, so input and accessories, you can see you can set the default function to be the special function or the F1 through 11 function, depending on what you want. All right. And then you have keyboard backlight, low, high, and off. And notice there's no RGB options there. It's just a white backlight, which is fine, I think, with a laptop like this. Touchpad, you can turn that on and off right there. Very good. Advanced settings. Intelligent media, super resolution. Enhance the experience of video playback by improving resolution. It works especially when the video is in poor resolution. The device's power consumption temperature may increase when the feature is enabled. So this is automatically on. And intelligent gestures, scroll up, down on the left side of the touchpad to adjust display brightness. So this is turned on. It doesn't appear to be This says touch gestures will only be recognized when and executed when the app with focus is in full screen mode. Only the left 20% and right 20% of the touchpad will be used for intelligent gesture sensing. So if you're watching a movie or a video game in full screen mode, then you can use the left and right side of the touchpad for brightness and volume, that's pretty cool. I've never seen that before, actually. That's something new on a Windows laptop. I like that. You also have touchscreen gestures. Scroll up and down on the left side of the touchpad to display your brightness. This will only be, again, executed when the app is in full screen mode. Smart noise canceling for your microphone. You can turn that on and off if you want. So I would say turn it off mainly if you're running into issues with the microphone cutting in and out. But other than that, probably not going to worry about that. There is some security stuff there, but I don't think you'll need to worry about this area of the computer. I did remove McAfee already from the system, so please keep that in mind. I typically use Windows default protection from Windows Defender, and I'd be very careful about what I download and what links I click on. But to each your own. If you're newer to computers, I would definitely recommend using an antivirus if you don't know what is a safe link to click on or download, for example. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to get the laptop plugged in. Beautiful. Now we've got a whole series of checklists. So we've checked the power adapter, we've unboxed the laptop, quality control and flex test. We have not removed the bottom of the laptop yet. Analyze and review the ports and enter and review the BIOS. Let's go ahead and do those two things. So let's go ahead and shut the laptop down. And I don't know, I just plugged in the laptop, but now we're shutting it down. It's all good. Parky says, the software from this laptop and Lenovo Vantage seems pretty good. I like that extreme performance mode on battery. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We've seen the flip to start feature on the Alienware series laptop reviewed where it would turn on when opened. That's correct. All right, so dun, dun, dun. I'm gonna need my toolkit. There it is. All right, so this is going to be a Torx style screwdriver. Look at how thin this laptop is. I mean, it is very, very thin. We've got our air intakes here. I'm very curious to see the thermal solution on this machine. So this is a T5 screw head. So a Torx T5 screw head. Not sure if I'll be able to show it to you very well, but it is not your standard screwdriver head. There was a link to this, but you can just make sure you get one if you need to access the bottom of your laptop. We'll see what upgradability there will be on the inside. I have no clue on the upgradability of a large Ultrabook like this. Obviously, the RAM, I believe, will be soldered on. But I hope maybe the SSD and the Wi-Fi will be upgradable is my hope. Okay, so we've got 4 screws in the front that are short ones, 3 screws in the back that are long ones. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this guy opened up. So let's see here. So we're gonna start Start with a guitar pick style pick. Not sure where the best place to start is. I'm just going to start in the front middle, maybe. So gently trying to pry in here. It is not really coming up though. Let's keep looking around for a better pry spot. Looks like underneath the hinge here. Yeah, there we go. Whew. It's very crackly sounding as I go around. It's coming up quite nicely. So far, no issues. And onto the rear of the device. Okay, so it looks like the rear of the device, I might need to kind of get in here a little bit better. Interesting. Trying to be careful here because it feels like it's kind of still snapped together. Which makes me wonder if there's not another element that we need to, you know, remove. Like another another screw or something. This is interesting. It is not coming up very easily. There we go. Okay, so there's a little connector here in the, this little middle connector was not popping off right away. So I just had to apply a little bit more pressure and then it came right up. But obviously, anytime you remove one of these lids, you want to be very, very careful. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of the laptop now. All right, so we have our, this was a 71 watt hour battery here, but in Windows it was saying it was 72.8 watt hour battery. And then we got some front space here and a big fan. We got one really big fan right here. That should be plenty enough to keep our CPU very, very cool. So interestingly enough, we have basically one rear fan exhaust on this machine. So the back right portion of the laptop is really where you're going to want to be very careful when you are the back right portion of this laptop is where you're going to want to be very careful to not put anything back here blocking the heat exhaust. Interesting. All right. So let's go ahead and see what can be upgraded on this guy. So we've got our Wi-Fi here. Let's lift these. Let's lift this tape up. And see what we can see under here. So this thermal tape, you know, kind of tries to help prevent, you know, I guess, air intake and other things, you know, or things from moving around. So we've got our CMOS battery here on the left underneath this side of the thermal tape in case you need to unplug it to reset the laptop. This is where you would do that. On this side of the laptop, let's see what we got. Got to be careful removing this thermal tape because you can unplug things that should not be unplugged if you're not careful. If the tape is like stuck to a wire, for example. And this is kind of stuck to the Wi-Fi here. So if you were to upgrade this Wi-Fi, let's see what Wi-Fi is here to begin with. It is an Intel AX211 NGW. So this is Wi-Fi 6E, which is great. I think it's a great Wi-Fi chip in here. I don't think you'll need to upgrade that at all. And let's see if we can get this to come up from this side. In general, I don't think you'll need to do this. Oh, wow. So this tape is helping hold down this metal cover. We'll put that back. But I want to see what's under here. This is the CPU. It's kind of hard to show you. It's very strong tape. So there's our cooling solution. If you need to repaste this, this is where you would do that. You take these screws out right here, probably these screws here. You can lift up the cooling solution with the two heat pipes. We have two thicker heat pipes right here. So that's what's underneath here. And this might be the RAM right there. I'm not sure. Make sure that this metal plate goes back in correctly. Got to be very careful with the metal. All right. I think that's good enough to show you what's underneath there. But basically it's Intel Wi-Fi 211 with two heat pipes, and our CPU is right here. Big fan right here. I wonder... Oh, whoa. Okay, so our speaker. That's our speaker over here. I was like, what is this? Can I move this? Yeah, so we got at least one of our speakers right here. Maybe the other speaker is right here. Very interesting placement for that. I wonder if the SSD is then soldered to the motherboard, because I'm not seeing any SSD location here, or maybe any ability to really be able to upgrade the SSD, unfortunately, as far as I can tell. So you might have to order it with whatever SSD you're wanting, you know, whatever SSD space you're wanting to be able to have on the machine itself. Yeah, so very nice. I believe we're ready to put this cover back on. Let's go ahead and do that. I want to mention that you probably want to be careful when you're opening this, because I think a couple of little plastic pieces right here and right here on each side actually broke off. So I think you might need to actually take the bottom off on this machine when the laptop is opened up, is what I'm thinking would prevent that. I'm not sure though. Probably refer to the manual to be able to to know for sure. Okay, let's go ahead and move this back to my lap here. And there are quite a few ridges here on the, let's go and tilt it down. Okay, so there's quite a few ridges along this line. So I'm gonna try to put this back in with this ridge coming in first. There we go. Yeah, my guess is what you're going to want to do when you take this off, get all the screws out, you're going to want to scoot this forward that way, like a ½ inch is my guess, to be able to clear this thing and not damage any of those little plastic tabs. Okay, so snapping it back together was a cinch. Let's go ahead and get the screws back in. Dun, 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 dun. Man, this laptop, it takes me back to like my college days when I got one of the first yoga books. Man, the yoga books have been around for a long time. I think they're so cool with their inverted hinge, and it's just so innovative to be able to do, you know, make a laptop do so much more, I guess. And I really wish they would come out with some gaming versions with, I don't know, like an RTX 4050, 4060, you know, like we've got the Asus Flow X16, you know, like those options are there, but I'd like to see Lenovo step into the gaming side and put like a 4050, 4060, maybe a 4070 in some of these yoga books and give the gamers that want the creativity and multifunctionality of a laptop the flexibility to actually, you know, do more with their laptop. They can game with it natively as well as watch a video inverted in, you know, stand mode or whatever when they're in bed. I think a lot of gamers would love that. Okay, so there's the bottom back on. Let's go ahead and fire her up and get into the BIOS next. See what Lenovo has got going on with the BIOS with a laptop like this. I don't know. Okay, so this theoretically should turn on when I open it up. It did, and usually it's F2 to get into the BIOS. Yes, it is. We're in the BIOS there. Let me get the laptop plugged in again. Beautiful. All right, so of course this has got the Windows GUI interface type of, so you can use your mouse to control it. You can change the language here. For configuration, let's see what we have. Enable and disable Wi-Fi, set the system time and date. Storage controller, Intel virtualization, VTD feature, Intel hyper-threading, BIOS backflash, hotkey mode, always on USB, disable built-in battery, interesting. System performance mode, extreme performance is enabled. Flip to start is enabled, one key. A lot of this stuff is set up in the Lenovo Vantage software, so I don't know if there's any point in ever coming into here. As far as I can tell, there probably is not. USB boot, yeah. I mean, there's pretty much, since there is no additional storage slots on this machine, there's not really any point, because all these other settings in here are pretty much accessible inside of Windows, I guess, except maybe virtualization, but pretty much everything else. So notice how shiny this this display is. That's part of the touch display interface. It's not a matte display. The fact that it is a reflective display like this will mean that it might be harder to see the display in certain environments. Thankfully, the display is brighter. Now, when it is a reflective display like this, it also makes the colors and brightness of the laptop pop more. So that is the pro to this laptop being a reflective display. I can't remember the technical term for off the top of my head. I don't know why I'm spacing on it, but yeah, it's got this reflective surface coating. Now let's go ahead and do a quick one finger test. I think we can do a one finger opening, but let's see. Does it open with one finger? Well, it moves the laptop back. It kind of does. I think you pretty much, that's how sturdy these hinges are, I guess. So one finger opening is not really possible. Yeah, you need to have two fingers. That's okay. These hinges are very sturdy feeling. Notice that I'm able to move the laptop and have it set. And it stays where I set it very consistently, which is great. And of course, we can lay it all the way flat backwards, flip it upside down like we showed you. You know, you can put this laptop in whatever mode you want. Okay. Let's see here. What is next? So we've gone into the BIOS and let's review the ports. We've not checked the webcam quality. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me get logged in here. All right, let's go to camera. All right, we're going to record a video. Hello, we're talking to the camera right now. And wow, it says it's a 1080p webcam. And it definitely is a 1080p webcam. Seeing a pretty good amount of detail. You can see individual hairs in my beard. And you can easily read the Lumix logo here. Let's go ahead and take a couple photos. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the detail on this camera. So pretty good detail overall. I do think the webcam still could be improved, but yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah. Very nice. Let's go ahead and see the webcam video. I'll turn the music up and I'll play this. Oh, we had mic recording disabled. Let's try that again. Hello and welcome to my review of the Lenovo Yoga 7. No, just kidding. This is audio test quality. Let's see how it sounds. And this is me typing on the laptop keyboard. Oops, there we go. Hello and welcome to my review of the Lenovo Yoga 7. No, just kidding. This is audio test quality. Let's see how it sounds. And this is me typing on the laptop keyboard. There you go. So overall, I think the video quality is pretty solid and the image is not bad at all. All right. Like, I think the image can still be better, but for the money, for $649, that's a very good webcam and image quality. Let's see touch ID, or is it fingerprints? Yeah, set up fingerprint login. So we have a fingerprint sensor right here, right? We got the fingerprint sensor right there. Let's go ahead and see if we can get signed in to the fingerprint. Let's go ahead and set this up. We got to sign in to there. Okay, so now we're going to touch the fingerprint sensor, and we're going to have to touch it a bunch of different times. And you might want to do more than one finger. You can add a second finger if you want. But let's go ahead and lock the machine, and we're going to use the fingerprint sensor down here to log in. Look at that. It's working. It's working just fine so far. Don't know. I've usually had problems with Windows touch fingerprint ID sensors not recognizing my finger over time for some reason, but that obviously depends on the laptop and the finger sensor that's in there. So that's something I would try to monitor over time. But the fact that you have Windows Hello camera and fingerprint sensor on the same laptop is awesome. So that's very cool. Very nice. All right, it's time to do our display nits, brightness with color gamut and contrast. So let's get out the Spider 5 Elite, and we'll get this guy put on the display and see how good the display is. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so I'm gonna have to type in the code here. Beautiful. All right, we're in. Docboys Gaming said, Gameplay says, is Lenovo Slim 5 worth for CLG? What is CLG? You have to let me know what you're saying there. All right, we're gonna do the color gamut and brightness test. Let's see how we do. College. Okay. So the Slim 5, I think, would be a great laptop for college. If you need something that can game and do other things as well. Especially depending on the model, you make it some pretty solid battery life out of it. It's probably slightly better than the Legion Pro 5, though the Slim 5 is not altogether that portable. So, I mean, probably the ultimate college laptop for under $1,000 right now is probably the Zephyrus G14 with a 4050. Unless you have a higher budget, then you could go for something more portable or whatever, you know. So, at least if you're in the gaming laptop market segment and you need something very portable. Okay, so we're in the here. We gotta set the brightness down to 0. Whoo! Whoa! It gets so dark I can't even see the cursor. All right, so we're measuring that. Reza says, hey, I recently got a Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. With undervolting, I get 33,000 Cinebench and very good temps. Is undervolting the CPU constantly safe? And wouldn't it cause issues long term? So the fundamental idea of undervolting is that you're just letting the silicon run at what it's capable of running at. Like each silicon chip can run at a higher or lower frequency. And when you undervolt a laptop CPU like the Intel i9-13900HX, what you're doing is saying, instead of running at 4.5 gigahertz at this much wattage, run 4.65 gigahertz at the same wattage. Basically, it's like overclocking at the same level of wattage, or it's running at the same 4.5 gigahertz, but at a lower wattage. Depending on the game and what load it is, and whether it's an all-core turbo boost and all of that will factor into that. But in general, I would say undervolting will improve temperatures, which should, especially in gameplay and like not 100% multi-core workloads, when you're in like just playing games and stuff, undervolting will improve temperatures, improve performance, and improve longevity of the product. That's my opinion. Don't have any hard data behind it because it's very hard to get hard data around that kind of stuff. But based on my understanding of how it works, that's theoretically what should be happening in the background. That said, you will, I think, run into instability when you have undervolting more often if you undervolt too aggressively. So I would say undervolting is great. Just don't go too aggressive with your undervolt and you'll be fine, I think, long term. That's the best of my understanding and knowledge. Okay, so taking a look at our display results for the Yoga 7. Now this Spider 5 Elite, it underestimates the color gamut by about 7 or 8% of the color gamut space. So this says 62% of sRGB. That's actually closer to 69, 70% sRGB. And same for the P3 color gamut and Adobe RGB, 46 and 46. So those would be like 53, 54% of the P3 and Adobe. That is not good. That is not very high color gamut. For sRGB, 70%, I mean, you can certainly play games and you can certainly enjoy games and it's not going to be a problem. You can enjoy movies and watching stuff just fine, but that is not a very high color gamut display. For $649 though, that's about average in terms of color gamut. You're rarely going to have ultra high color gamut displays around this price point. So yeah, I would say poor color gamut, but it's also par for the course when you're dealing with a $650 laptop. All the other gaming laptops around this price point have similar color gamut displays around the 69% sRGBs. Pretty common. That said, wow, the brightness was rated for 300 nits and we got 372 nits brightness. So that is excellent. And that is certainly above average for a $650 laptop. Contrast ratio of 960 to 1 is also above average, average being closer to 800 or so to 1 for the gaming laptops that I've tested so far this year. So yeah, that's very good. And the brightness on low setting is insanely low. So if you need to have the brightness go very, very low, it basically turns the whole thing off if you're completely in a dark environment. Maybe if you're like completely dark, you'll be able to see it, but it's showing 0 nits at 0% brightness. So very interesting. So overall, this is a 60 hertz display. That's the main downside to the display, but it is touch enabled as well. So touch enabled displays usually cost a little bit more, which again, makes it surprising that this thing's only $650 for a touch enabled display. It was very cool. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and do a example of some colorful video here so you can see what it looks like with some colorful video. So like I was noticing when I was going between my Blade 18 and this laptop setting it up, my Blade 18 is both brighter and more colorful. And obviously my Blade 18, you can get about 7 or 8 of these laptops for my Blade 18. So it's not a very fair comparison, but I'm just saying this is I mean, you can obviously enjoy content with this display if you're not very picky. If you're like super picky with your displays though, and you want a higher color gamut, or even if you're moderately picky, you probably want a higher color gamut display. You can go for a more expensive Lenovo Yoga. They definitely have a higher color gamut displays in the Yoga lineup, but they're not $649. All right, so that's the main downside. You pay more, you get more, and that's going to be true for display quality. The nice thing, I think in this kind of laptop, the brightness being 372 nits is phenomenal. That's really a great level of brightness for handling, using this laptop in the outdoor environments a lot better, or even brightly lit interior environments. This laptop display is going to be plenty bright enough to see what you're doing, which is obviously more important than having a super high color gamut display for actual functionality and office work and all of that. Yeah. Doc Boys Gameplay says, can I recommend for under $1,400? I live in India. I love your vids. Thanks. You need a recommendation for under $1,400? Well, I went over some of the top deals at the beginning of the laptop stream today. I would refer you back to those. But the Acer Nitro 16 with a 4070 right now is $1,029. If I was looking at a mid-range gaming laptop around this size, that's probably the way I would go. Probably. Maybe the Zephyrus G14 if I wanted something more portable, because that's $899 for a 4050. That's also really, really good. Okay, let's go ahead and move into the next phase of evaluate the laptop control software. We already did that earlier. Speaker test with decibel meter is next. Let's get into the speaker test. So this laptop should be pretty interesting to test for speakers. The Yoga book that I had previously had a very impressive sound system, but it was also a more expensive Yoga book because there's a pretty wide variety of Yoga book lineups. You can go for the cheapest ones or the most expensive ones. And I know the more expensive ones usually have a sound bar in the hinge. So no matter which way you have it, you'll have the speakers facing where the display is, which is really cool design. I don't know if we're going to have that kind of experience on this laptop, but the speakers were back by the hinge, which theoretically should let the sound out towards the user because it can come out like the vent holes around the exhaust area. So let's go ahead and do our speaker test next. So we'll get the laptop set up right here and grab the decibel sound meter. Bingo, bingo, bongo. All right. Very good. Okay, so now I am also going to go ahead and get this external mouse plugged in. And I really appreciate the ports on this. You know, most Ultrabooks have pretty crappy ports. You got 2 Thunderbolt 4s and 2 USB-As. Gives you a lot of flexibility. Real quick, let's go ahead and get the... I guess I gotta plug this in. There we go, and we're gonna go to here. We'll just copy this and this. And this. Okay, and all right. Music time. Peter Spacey Roar But also I want to pull up our audio profiles here and let you hear the different versions as Peter Spacey Roar plays initially here. So let's go ahead and see what this sounds like. So right now we're in dynamic. We'll go to movie. We'll go to music. Game. I think dynamic sounded just as good as any of the other modes. Let's go ahead and switch back. I'll turn the screen brightness down a little bit to help balance out the display here. Around 41.5 decibels for our baseline audio level. Let's go ahead and do Peter Spacey Roar. Okay, so the bass, the mids, and the highs could all be better, but I think the bass was decent. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a high-end speaker system, and it also, we only saw about 78, 79 decibels on the meter, which is a little bit low. Maybe we'll get a little more volume out of Faded Aeon Half-Life, which is next. It does. Faded Aeon Half-Life sounds a lot better to me than the first one. The Peter Spacey Roar has a lot of bass, mids, and highs all at once, and it gets pretty muddled because I think what we have here is just a two-speaker system, and without the dedicated subwoofer, you end up sounding a little bit muddled when it's all at once. The Faded Aeon Half-Life kind of intermixes the mids and highs and lows at different times, and it sounded a lot cleaner, a lot better. So let's see what Deuce Williams' La La Love You Like sounds like. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. So I would give these speakers like a 7.8. 7. Yeah. 7.8. They have they have enough volume. 7.8 gives them basically a rating that's like a bit above average, but there's a lot better speakers on the market. But for a thinner, lighter laptop, they're not bad. And for the price point at $649, they're a lot better than the speakers that's in the Gigabyte G5, for example. So yeah, that's good. That part is at least decent. All right, so we're moving into our next phase, which is going to be fan noise testing with decibel meter. Let's see how loud this Ultrabook can get to. Here we go. So we're going to need to get 3D Mark opened up. And we'll need to get Afterburner turned on as well. Let's make sure that we're in the extreme performance mode. We are in extreme performance mode. That's good. Let's go ahead and close Lenovo. Vantage. YSMQ says, one of the few laptops that lets you plug in a USB keyboard and a mouse at the same time. Interesting. Do most laptops not let you do that? I guess if you have two of... I guess one of the few Ultrabooks that would let you do that. Most laptops have enough USB ports to do at least 2 ports, but most Ultrabooks only have 1, probably USB-A, and maybe 2 USB-C. It's probably the average. Oh, let's go ahead and restart Steam. Looks like it locked up. So there is some bloatware on this machine. That said, the only bloatware that opened initially at launch is just the Microsoft stuff, and then the McAfee. So McAfee is the only thing that I really removed. All right, let's go ahead and launch. Here, I'll do a little Wi-Fi test here. See how fast we can download. It's actually coming through pretty quick. Not the fastest I've seen. It's picking up steam. Doesn't have to download too much here. 75, 80 Mbps. I've seen a few hundred Mbps on my fiber internet. So I feel like that's a little bit on the slower side overall, comparatively speaking, but at least it's not super slow. Obviously, I think that's probably more a Wi-Fi issue, probably. Okay, like like on my side, like my Wi-Fi router, I think needs to be reset at this point, because we should have very, very fast Wi-Fi connection, just as fast as anything else. But just noticed that it's been a little bit slower the last week and a half, probably. I just need to do a full probably reset. I mean, it's been working fine, but like I think my mesh network is down in the house because I have 3 nodes on my house, and I think 2 of them are down, or at least one of them is, because we're not getting good signal in part of the house now. So we're opening up 3D Mark. What we're going to do is run Time Spy in a loop. This is going to heat the system and also push it to the maximum performance limit for the hardware. And we're going to see what kind of wattages we get with the GPU and the CPU, because we have an integrated GPU in this laptop. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of performance we get. I'm not anticipating much. I'm hoping when we actually run 3D Mark, we're going to get like, I'm hoping for like 1,500, maybe 2,000. We'll see. Yami says, what are the specs? So we have an i7 1355U processor, which is the Evo lineup, with Intel Iris Xe graphics in this thin Yoga 7 Ultrabook competitor. This laptop really is not a dedicated gaming system at all, but we're still going to test it and see what it does in this gaming test, because the Intel Iris graphics have come a long way from what Intel used to be for their integrated graphics. Like 5 years ago, it was, you could not do anything pretty much, like maybe Counter-Strike 1.6. But now I think you can do some basic gaming on it, but we'll see how well things run today. All right, so we're gonna do graphics test 2. We're gonna loop it. We're gonna do window mode. Yeah, we're gonna do window mode. There we go. All right, and that should be good. Let's just, it doesn't really matter what resolution it is because it runs the same either way, but we'll just do it this way. Yami says, what's the GPU? It's an Intel Iris Xe. It's the Intel iGPU. So this is like what you're going to get in, if there's no dedicated GPU, this is what you get with an Intel system. So we're gonna make this 500, and we're going to also make this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so right there you can see we're getting 98% GPU utilization. That's good. We've got 26 watts going through the Intel CPU in its entirety. 73 degrees on the CPU. Obviously, it's the same temperature for the CPU and GPU, but they're combined in the same chip, so we have the same wattage shared between the CPU and GPU in this scenario. So we're going to see what kind of performance we get, and what kind of performance we get that's more sustained, right? That's part of what we're seeing here in this moment. 73 degrees is pretty good, though, considering that we're running both the graphics and the CPU through the same part right now. Yami says it's not good, right? I mean, Intel Iris won't run TL The Last of Us and Ultra Graphics. No, this is not going to run The Last of Us on Ultra Graphics. This is not meant for running the latest titles on Ultra settings. You'll need a dedicated GPU for that. That said, you will be able to you'll still be able to play a lot of legacy titles on here natively. Probably even some of them on ultra settings, the older titles that are like 5 years old or something, you know, there's a good chance you'll be able to play those at least on low or medium settings, and the older titles definitely be able to go to ultra. But those are like the old titles, right? Now, they only have a 60 hertz display on here. It's not a high refresh rate display. This laptop's really not a gaming focused laptop, but we're still testing out its performance today. So now I was going to mention that the best alternative, if you wanted to play The Last of Us on here, you need to play with a cloud streaming gaming service that it's compatible with whatever game you want to play. GeForce Now, Microsoft Xbox Game Pass, there's the PlayStation streaming service, and one more major one. There's like 4 major ones. And there's a huge game selection now of hundreds of different games you can use for cloud gaming. And I've had a pretty good experience playing them on here. As long as you're playing like AAA titles that are more casual, like Last of Us, you don't have to worry about the latency. There's a slight increase to latency. You just play with a controller. And you can actually have really good battery life when you're playing games that way. If you like wanted to play games in the living room, for example, just on battery life with this thing up in tent mode or something, or stand mode, it's actually a pretty good gaming experience. Use a controller with cloud gaming streaming, and it's pretty good. Now we're actually doing around 15 to 20 FPS right now. Our wattage is staying right around 25, which is good for this Intel U CPU. And 73 degrees is also very good. We're staying nice and steady and consistent. So that's great. Now let's go ahead and open up the Lenovo Vantage software and switch us into intelligent power mode and see, well, let's see how loud this thing is. All right. We're in max fan mode. Let's see how loud we are first before we continue on. Before we check out the next fan profile, we'll see what we're doing. All right. So standard decibel rating in the room is 41.5. 44.5 decibels. This is only 3 decibels increase to the room. I can audibly hear the fans, but just softly. It's a soft whoosh going on in the background right now. So very minimal fan noise, even in the highest performance mode setting. Let us go to... We're going to switch our mode to intelligent cooling. Now let's see what our performance is like. When we switched it to intelligent cooling, I saw us jump to 30 watts for a moment, and I was like, wait, what? Intelligent cooling is faster than extreme performance? That doesn't make any sense. But from what I can see right now, it looks like the performance is very similar. It's not a gaming laptop focus, but it can handle some. That's correct. Vantage software is different on this. Yeah, Reza, it's definitely looks different and has a different feel to it. Does the GPU temperature get high? So it's only 73 degrees right here. This temperature is the same for the GPU and CPU because it's a combined GPU, CPU together in one. So that temperature is for both. And so no, the temperature for the GPU does not get hot. I'm noticing that our wattage went from about 24, now we're down to about 22, 21 watts. So I don't know, let's see if it comes back up to 24, but I think we're looking at just slightly less performance, maybe 10% less performance in intelligent cooling mode. At least based on the wattage drop, usually translates to slightly lower levels of performance. All right, let's see if the fan noise is any different. One decibel quieter in intelligent cooling mode. So the fans are slightly lower than they were, and the performance is also slightly lower. Let's go to battery savings mode and see what we're at. Battery savings mode. It does not appear to have changed much. Well, the fans are completely inaudible to me now. And our wattage dropped now into 19.9, 18.9. So wattage definitely dropped another 4 watts or so far. Let's see if it continues to go down. Notice our GPU boost clock also dropped. Our CPU clock is very low as well. Down to 15 watts now. Yomi says, I'm looking to buy an HP Omen 16 for about $1,100 to $1,000. It has an i5 13th gen 4060, 16 gig, 512 gig SSD, 240 hertz. I'm in China, so computer phone aren't expensive here. Okay, so I would say that price is decent. If that's a QH, that's a very good price if it's a QHD display, but if it's a full HD display, 240 hertz, then that's just kind of like average for US pricing. Right now, not necessarily a great sale because we're seeing 4060s as low as like 650, 700, 800. So 1,000 to 1,100, it's 200 to 300 more than what we're seeing in the United States right now. Yeah, so that's basically what I would say, but I don't know about the pricing in China. So that may be different, right? That might be a very good price for China. Usually the United States is the cheapest pricing overall, comparatively speaking, but it just depends. Now, notice that our wattage dropped down to 15 watts. Looks like we're hitting 15 watts consistently. So that is what the battery savings mode drops you down. 25 watts for extreme performance, 22 watts for intelligent cooling, and 15 watts of performance for the battery savings mode. Let's go back to extreme performance and see if, there we go. Now we're getting 26 watts, 24 watts, 24 and a half watts. Our boost clock is now much higher on both the GPU and the CPU. And our FPS is probably just a little bit better. Not much of a difference in terms of FPS, simply because it's very power efficient already from the get-go. So let's go ahead and that intelligent cooling mode or the battery savings mode was completely quiet. So if I go back to this, let's go ahead and just do a quick fan test. Got to give it a second to wind down. See, it's completely quiet. I cannot hear the fans at all. They're completely inaudible to me. There you go. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and run TimeSpy in extreme performance mode and see what we get for our actual benchmark now. In terms of fan noise, I would say it's extremely impressive how quiet the machine is. Even in extreme performance mode, it's excellent. What do I think of the AMD 6800M GPU? Is it good? So Matrix, I would say the 6800M GPU, if you can snag a laptop that has a good CPU paired with it, with a good display, it's probably worth around $900 to $1,000 right now. I do think the GPU is good. It can play games great. I did a review on the Strix G15 with the 6800M 2 years ago. It is an older GPU. I mean, maybe the fair price now is 800. I'm not sure. Like, prices in gaming laptops have just really come down a lot. So it's hard to keep up with all of the reduction in pricing. I would say, but I'd say for a 6800M, yeah, like 800 to 1,000, depending on the display, the CPU, the RAM, the SSD, all of that other stuff that comes with it. That'll all matter a lot. So, okay, so we're doing 25 watts of power, 1300 megahertz on the GPU core clock, averaging around 11 frames right now in time spy. Obviously, not a ton of frames, but it's going to be enough to give us a hopefully better than 2,000 score. And my hope is that we go over 2,000 for our time spy score, because if we're going over 2,000, that should be enough to play a lot of games. The only other issue from playing games from a native GPU perspective is just the drivers. Intel drivers sometimes struggle. So to stay up to date or to give you optimal performance, even if the hardware should be able to run the game, no problem. You know, that's where, like, again, legacy titles, the drivers should all be figured out, no problems. Just like the latest games, even if it's a light, easy to run game, sometimes the drivers are an issue with the latest games. Just because these kinds of GPUs are not typically used for gaming as much, so it sometimes takes a little while to get all the drivers ironed out for them. Okay. Yes. YSM says, isn't that the US prices are cheaper because it's the only place where the price shown is from before taxes? Well, you have to understand that there's like 2 layers of tax, depending on, it just depends, right? So like, for example, one layer of tax could be the import tax from customs. Another layer of tax could be the sales tax, the county tax, the city tax, the state tax. Like, there's a wide variety of taxes here in America. Some states have 0 sales tax. The price listed is exactly what you pay. Like in Oregon, it's that way. Montana, it's that way. In Texas, you pay about 8.5%, maybe 8.25%, depending on which county or city you're in. Yeah, so, and usually in America, the import taxes from many countries, that's paid from company to company transactions before. That's not really, it's like passed on to the consumer through the base price, not in the actual transaction. Whereas in other countries, sometimes they'll be like, it's $1,000 plus 20% import tax, and then you have a sales tax on top of that, or whatever. It just depends on the company. Wow, 30 FPS in the CPU test, that's actually pretty good. But the GPU test, we were only doing like 7 to 11 FPS in the GPU test. It's a bit rough. So let's see what we get. I don't know. I'm hoping for over 2,000. Like I said, for the GPU score, I'm hoping we get over 2,000. If we do, then I'll be impressed. If we go below that, it's going to be okay. Okay, so 1,600 for our GPU score, 5,088 for our CPU score. So 1596 is going to be able to play legacy titles only, primarily, unless it's a really optimized new game. Like, there are new games that come out that are super optimized and can play on this native hardware, no problem. But a lot of esports games will be able to play on this, like Valorant, League of Legends, Dota 2. Those games will be able to play on this natively. And then, of course, legacy titles like, like Max Payne, probably Counter-Strike 2. We're about to find out if Counter-Strike 2 will run. We've got a few games we're going to be testing. Let's see, the 3 games that I want to test. I don't know if we're going to do Apex Legends. We're definitely going to do Counter-Strike 2. I was thinking Baldur's Gate 3 is what I was thinking, to see if a new game can run on like low settings or something, because that's, you know, that got Game of the Year this year, and I think that'd be a very interesting one to test on native settings. Okay, we're got to do Cinebench R23 next. So Cinebench R23 being a synthetic CPU test that will let us know how much multi-core performance we can really expect for like multi-core workloads. All right, I wanted to get Process Lasso installed. I'm not seeing it here though. Oh, I gotta go into here, and it'll be inside of here. There it is. Okay. Accept that. We'll close this. For Cinebench, we're going to quit at the extra applications as well. I mean, that theoretically could have impacted our performance just a little bit, but I don't think so. Not much, at least. Okay, so let's go to preferences. I mean, advanced benchmark. All right, cool. And let's go ahead and set this to above normal. Sweet. And let's go ahead and open HWinfo64. So this is going to let us know what our CPU temperatures are, our CPU clock speeds, and our sustained performance. All right, and let me get this just set up here. There we go. Okay, so here you can see we have 1, 2 P cores, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 E cores. So this is a 10 core, 12 thread CPU. And let's see what our CPU performance is in a multi-core workload. So we'll let it run. We'll just let it go for the first one. We won't monitor it in this first run. So we got 12 threads going right there, which is insane, by the way. 12 threads in an Ultrabook is insane. Ultrabooks used to be just like 2 cores, 4 cores maybe, you know? Like 2 core, 4 threads used to be the standard for Ultrabooks, like 2 performance cores and then 4 total threads. And now we've got the 2 performance cores still, with those being hyper-threaded, and then we have 8 additional E cores to help boost our multi-core performance. It's a massive improvement for a highly portable laptop, especially with this low of power wattage. Okay, Salvatore says Strixcar 164080 or Razer Blade 164080. I'm confused which one to get. I think they're both excellent products. Both of them have excellent displays, even if the Blade 164080 doesn't have a mini LED. Depends on which model you get. But the Scar 16 should always have mini LED, I believe. I would say the Scar 16 is a bit more gamery, where the Blade 16 is a bit more like clean looking with the unibody chassis and better build quality. But between those two, I'd probably go Scar 16 if it was my money. 8,335 for our first run. Now let's go ahead and monitor our performance with HWinfo. So 8,335, I think is what it said. So that is what I used to get. That's what I used to get on my old gaming laptop from about 6 years ago. was about 8,000. So that was a 4-core 8-thread CPU i7, and now we are doing that in the thin and light laptops with U processors, which is it's pretty great to see. Our P cores are hitting 3.1 to 3.2 gigahertz. Our E cores are doing 2.3 gigahertz. Let's go ahead and take a look at our temps. Again, sitting around 74 degrees max temp. Oh, it looks like we peaked at 95 for a period of time with a max pull of 52 watts, at least temporarily. Not sure if it's how consistent that was. Right now we're doing around 24 watts when we round up, 25.8 watts. So I think it's targeting around 25 watts, going up and down a little bit around that range, which is, it's great. Total system power right now is 42 watts overall. But the CPU package power is right around 25, 26. And the temperatures are very sustainable right now at 74, 78 degrees for the package. So I don't think we're having any issues running at that wattage level or power level long term. I think what we're going to see here for our consistent performance is what you'd see out of constant performance if we were to do this over and over again. 7410. We'll let it run one more time, and I think this will be realistic enough for our long-term performance. You know, I think when you compare this laptop to something like the Gigabyte G5 that has the Intel i5 13500H CPU that has a lot more cores and threads and a higher power limit as well, you know, that's going to be more performance for your money, in the sense that you'll be able to render videos faster, play games at higher FPS, obviously because you have, not only do you have a more powerful CPU, but you also have a more powerful GPU in the mix. But in terms of just raw CPU performance, obviously you're getting more from the Gigabyte G5 in this scenario at the same price. But you're getting less premium features like advanced, like Windows Hello for both the camera and touch. The build quality on this is far superior. The inverted different modes, those are obviously big trade-offs that you're making, that you're giving up if those things aren't as important to you. Obviously, battery life, I think, would be better on this as well, with the Intel U processor being able to sip on the battery wattage a lot better than the Intel i5. Matrix asks, how much VRAM would you recommend in 2023 to 2024? So I would say for VRAM utilization for 1080p, I'd probably recommend 8 gigs. If you want to go QHD gaming, I'd recommend 12 to 16 gigs, depending on how far in the future you're wanting to future-proof your VRAM usage. So 7580 for Cinebench R23. That's going to be enough for multi-core usage. You can do video editing with this, but it's going to be a lot slower than a more powerful processor. You can do gaming with this, but only certain titles, legacy titles, or cloud streaming obviously is going to be just fine. General day-to-day use also will be a little bit slower with this laptop, but not necessarily web browsing, right? Just browsing the web, this is going to be just as fast as any faster laptop. Pretty much, unless you have just tons of stuff open, you're using all your 16 gigs of RAM or something. That might be the only scenario where you're going to see noticeable performance degradation, but that's going to be very rare for your average user. Like your average user doing email, Netflix, light gaming, whatever, this CPU is going to do just fine. All right, so we're into our game test. So instead of Apex Legends, we're going to try Baldur's Gate 3, which is, I think, a more realistic. I don't think anyone's going to really want to play too many esports here. Let's do Baldur's Gate 3. All right. So I've got Baldur's Gate 3, which is won Game of the Year. And it is a very fun and interesting game to play. And so if this thing can play Baldur's Gate 3, that's phenomenal. I have no clue if I've not tested this at all. So this thing may not play at all, right? If it does play it, I anticipate it'll only play it probably on low settings, but let's find out. Interesting. First time I've seen that, all those control schemes popping up like that. YSM says 240 hertz QHD in a laptop that's like under 1500 sounds really good. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, that's pretty rare. But I think the biggest thing is whether the performance is good there too, because you want QHD, and hopefully you want a powerful enough GPU to power QHD gaming well. Which, I mean, even an RTX 4050 theoretically can power it, but it's just not going to maybe not give you like the best experience ever, because of VRAM limitations, because you're going to have to like turn settings down frequently, especially with only 6 gigs of VRAM. You're going to have to watch the VRAM for QHD gaming a lot. Okay, so it does have a QHD display. Good deal or not? I mean, I think if for a QHD, Yami, then that's a lot better. That is a lot better, especially if it's in China. Like it's for probably for China pricing, that's probably very good then for a QHD for $1,000 with an RTX 4060 and a QHD 240 hertz. Yeah, that's probably very good. I would certainly say it's far from terrible. I think that's quite clear. We'll do no nudity today. Not that there would be any nudity in this opening scene that we're testing or whatever, but okay, so let's go to video. Intel Xe graphics, 16 by 10. We'll turn off the triple buffering, though you might actually want it on this one. We will turn on quality FSR, okay? We're gonna go to low settings. And let's go back to quality FSR. All right. So this is going to be interesting. What kind of FPS are we going to get from this? Useable. Baldur's Gate 3, one of the more optimized games that came out in 2023, surprisingly, and it still got Game of the Year. I would love to see at least over 45 FPS on average, even if 1% lows go down pretty low. At least 45 FPS would be more playable. Now, the scene we're going to be fighting in is one of the more complex scenes with like a ton of NPCs. So it'll be more challenging, I think, than most scenes in the game. It's loading, loading, loading. Okay, I'm going to turn the brightness on the display up. Okay, so we're getting 38 FPS. That's actually not bad. We'll go ahead and end turn. (36 FPS on average. We had some pretty big stutters. Only 3 FPS for our 1% lows. But in general, it is playing pretty smooth looking. And there's almost always 1% low FPS stutters in this game. When you switch turns, jumping between the different characters. But like this is clearly playable. Like this is going to be an enjoyable enough experience to be like, okay, I'm having a good time. You know, it's like, it's not so stuttery that it's ugly. And 34 is enough, especially for a turn-based game where all you need to do is point and click. And this is playing native, right? And I'm pretty sure we could unplug the power adapter right now and still have the same level of performance. Want to find out? Let's find out. I'm gonna unplug the power adapter. We are now in battery mode. Okay, I have the power adapter unplugged right here. And I'll reset our average FPS. I mean, yeah, it's still playing great, even in battery mode. Though I would expect the battery probably to die, I don't know, in 2 to 3 hours of gameplay is what my guess would be, depending on how bright you have the screen. That's fantastic. Nice little portable gaming laptop, and at least to some extent. Okay, they're murdering my team now, but 32 FPS is not bad for Baldur's Gate 3. That's certainly in a playable range. Notice the screen reflection here, because of the reflective display, makes it a little bit harder to see this dark environment. Obviously, you know, if I tilted it down or whatever, like honestly, it's not as noticeable to my eyes when I'm looking at it. The camera really picks up that reflection though. I mean, I can see the reflection, but it's not quite as bad as what it looks like to the camera to me. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we'll go ahead and exit Baldur's Gate 3. We've discovered Baldur's Gate 3 is perfectly playable on this laptop, even in native, even in battery only mode. So that's great. We'll plug it back in again, and let's go ahead and switch to Counter-Strike 2. All right. Let's see if Counter-Strike 2 can play on this machine. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to find out. Savitor FF, can we upgrade the Razer Blade 16 4070 with 32 gigs of RAM later? Because during the purchase, we get only 16 gigs of RAM. Yes. You can upgrade that at a later time, Savitor. Pretty sure they have 2 SODIMM slots for the Blade 16. Pretty sure. But you can check my unboxing review and see me take the bottom off and see the slots to confirm before you buy, if you'd like. Counter-Strike 2, another lightweight title that hopefully, I think we can get 60 FPS here with the Intel Xe graphics. Let's find out. Let's go to game, actually video. Full screen, windowed. Right now we're on default. We're on the high settings, so let's go to low. Right now we're in Fidelity FX Super Resolution. I mean, right now we have it on balance, but let's just go to quality. You know, if we're going to run FSR, let's try to run it on quality. But everything else is on low right now. Let's also enable developer console, and we'll just do... We'll turn on our FPS so we can see it. Let's find out. Is CSGO playable? Or I guess CS2, Counter-Strike 2. I'm so used to calling it CSGO. I'll mute the audio for now. I don't want anyone yelling over the mic. Okay, so right here you can see our FPS. It is 60 FPS right now, 50 to 60 FPS. Let's go ahead and try to kill some people here. We got someone, they tried to knife us. Wasn't a good idea for them to try and knife me. So, I mean, this is obviously lower resolution. I can feel the lower resolution. I still got another kill there. So, I mean, it's still playable. Double kill. I need to rotate my grip a little bit. But the FPS is clearly not hitting 60 perfectly, and the 1% lows are dipping below 60 as well. So I would say we're probably averaging around the 50 FPS mark. I did get the kill there. Oh no. Oh no. But this is far from an optimal gaming experience, you know, especially if you're going to play esports seriously. This is probably not as good as what doing the cloud streaming service would probably even be a little better, because you get the full resolution with no upscaling or anything. And it's just going to feel better overall. But this is still playable. It's just not, it's just clearly not the competitive experience that gamers crave. For Counter-Strike 2. But in a pinch, you just want to play with your friends and have some fun. This will do the trick. It'll get the job done. I saw 170 FPS for a moment. Right now it's doing right around 60. Yeah, I mean it's playable, but yeah, I would not personally want to try to compete seriously with this. How do I exit? Do do do. Do do do. I guess we have to exit to main menu first, and then we can exit. So yeah, I would say Counter-Strike 2 is playable, but far from the ideal. All right. And the last game I wanted to check out, and I've not tried this. Well, I loaded it, but I didn't really look at it much. Illuvium built in Unreal Engine 5. Let's see what it's like. Illuvium, the game that I am playing a lot, which is why I wanted to test it. Let's find out how well it does on low settings. All right, and then after this, we're going to do our summary of everything we found out about the laptop and everything we discussed today. And I do want to talk about one more thing as well, which we might actually try to set up. I don't know if I'll try to set it up. It's the Intel Unison, which is Intel's phone syncing service, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea. Basically, it lets you sync phone calls, messages, and photos to Intel Evo laptops, which are like the U processor lineup. I want to see it on regular. I don't know if that, I don't think it's available for regular Intel HX processors, which is kind of sad. I don't know why they wouldn't include that, but anyway, so we'll try going into our settings. We'll do full screen, and we'll do graphics. All quality, we'll go to low. All right, let's see what we get. So I recently made a new team. I call it Big Boys because it's a bunch of really expensive Illuvials only. Bunch of Colossus classes. All right, so right now we're doing 22 FPS. This guy has got a Magma Toxic Fighter with air. Interesting. I probably should have done this one instead of Restoration Suppressor. So right now we're doing 23 FPS. I can't adjust settings. I was going to see maybe if we can lower the resolution a little more and get it to a little smoother frame rate, but... So 23 FPS for this kind of game might actually not be too bad because this is an auto chess battler. Here, let me put the characters down that I'm gonna play here first. I'm gonna do a toxic opener, which poisons everyone that I fight. And we're also going to do heal augment to make my guy tankier and survive additional combat. I believe we are ready to go. So right now, averaging 22 FPS, 18. There's some pretty big stutters here. It is still playable though. It's far from an ideal gaming scenario. Let's see if I can change anything. Let's see here. Temporal anti-aliasing. Let's go to none. All right. I think we got this W. We're gonna win this first round. It's still playable. I mean, so that's the thing. Like, this is an auto chess where you actually are like, you set your guys up and then you battle, right? And it's fun. I think this is a really fun game. This is the game I've been playing just like a ton of. And so let's see here. So they went toxic as well. They went toxic water. So I'm going to put my verdant guy out. And we're going to double up this guy and give him additional health. All right. So I've got 3 Colossus now, which gives me 600 max health on all 3 of these, and 60 energy and physical resist, and then toxic, which does 1 stack of poison per enemy, basically. I'll just leave it right there. That's fine. Now we're going to see what he puts out. He's going to put out his air guys probably. Yeah, so he put out 3 air, which makes gives all his guys dodge chance. Ooh, only 8 FPS there for a moment. The more crowded the scene gets, the more brutal it's going to become. My big guy here, though, is tanking 4 guys right now. Oh, cannot tank through it. So the other option I could try to go for to lower. Well, let me play another character here before we continue. So he went. These are water dominant, which is not good for that. I'm thinking of putting my Ramfire out. All right, I think I'm gonna switch my weapon. Oh, if I do that, I can't. Tempting to do that. Let's do. I'm gonna do this to give my guys more energy. Every 4 seconds, they'll get additional energy so they can use their ultimates and do more damage. Okay, so 22 FPS. Let's see what we get as this. As the game starts, I anticipate we'll go down again more. I really want my Ramfire to get his stuff off. He might not. No, he did not. My ultimate on Ramfire did not trigger, which is not good. As a matter of fact, I would say that's very bad. Okay, we need to get some more damage out there or something. I don't know. All right, 22 FPS on average so far, though. So I would say, I mean, yeah, I would definitely say this is playable. So adaptive reflection gives 25 energy resistance, up to 10 stacks with 2% maximum health recovery per second, which is really, really good. I think we're going to go... Let's just get 4 Colossus going, I think, for now. And... we'll get more energy regeneration as well. Which energy regeneration is going to help all of my team do their ultimates, so... Oh, snap. So he put out Scoriox. That guy, this guy is very powerful, doing a lot of damage to my guys. So we'll have to see if I can get my ultimates off. I hope so. Okay, so we got 1 ultimate off, which is great. And my Ramfire is going over to kick the Scoriox's butt, which is great. If he can get another ultimate off, that would be huge. Oh, didn't get it off in time. So we ended up losing the match. That's okay. But we got to test it. So 22 FPS on average. I mean, theoretically, that is playable, right? Theoretically, that is playable from an auto chess perspective. It's just not a very great gaming experience, again. So let's talk. Let's summarize everything that we've discovered about the laptop. Intel Unison. Let's test this real quick. How do I set this up? Intel. Let me see here. Intel Unison. When powering on my laptop, I notice a little whiteness on the background of my display. Does that mean it's going bad? It might just be backlight bleed. Let's do... So this is going to install Intel Unison. So this is very important for Ultrabooks, which is the idea that you can link your phone directly to your Ultrabook experience. So we're going to download Intel Unison. Looks like it has good reviews on average, which is great. Only 31 megabytes. That's great. Downloaded and installed very fast. I like to see that. We'll add a phone and we're going to scan the QR code. I went ahead and configured my phone already before doing this live stream. So I just scanned this QR code, verified the device, confirm. And now it's connecting to my PC. We're going to pair this. Bluetooth connection successful. All right. Pairing successful. Receive notifications from your phone. We'll allow that. Get started. Files from your PC will appear here. So send messages. Send messages from your PC until Unison needs access to your messages to show them here. Okay, so you have to enable show notifications, which I already did that, I thought. Let's see here. So I went ahead and shared some photos. So those are some photos that I shared with the Intel Unison. Recently went to look at Christmas lights with Carla, and there it is. So quickly downloading and adding photos from your phone to your PC with Intel Unison. This is a feature I really have wanted a long time on regular gaming laptops. At least if this works well, and it appears to be working quite well. So it makes me hopeful that this could be really, really great. I don't know. That's awesome. So show me how. I need to go into Bluetooth. Go into Bluetooth, connect to the desktop, share system notifications, name, not name, show notifications, check. Okay, so I've done that. Now we'll say hit approved. So we'll create a new message. That's cool. And you can send messages, do phone calls right from this interface. On your PC, you can make calls and messages through your phone to other people. I'm not sure exactly how well it works yet. Haven't done enough testing, but it's a promising start. And I really love the fact that Intel's going down this line because this is something that Apple has had really locked down for a long time as being the best integrated when you integrate your phone with your PC or your Mac, I guess, in that scenario. And this is definitely a huge step forward to making Windows PCs more competitive on that front. Okay, very good. Let's move into our final summary review now. Finally, ready to go. Let's get it. All right. All right, so welcome to my final summary review of the Lenovo Yoga 7i. This is one of the very best general use laptops slash ultra portable laptops that exist. Now, I did a full detailed live stream that covered all of these topics. We went over the top deals currently, value comparison versus competition, unbox the laptop, check the power adapter, quality control, flex test, remove the bottom, internal analysis, reviewed the ports. We did all of this in a more detailed live stream linked in the description down below. That said, this thing is very compelling to someone who's not really a dedicated gamer. That is the first way I would summarize this. If you're looking for a general use laptop that has good battery life, is very portable, large screen, multiple functionalities, you can flip it back and around, put it in a tablet mode, put it into tent mode, and put it into display mode, where display mode is actually like this. So like you're flat on a table with the display out facing you. There's a lot of functionality here compared to a normal laptop that you can only use like this. And there's lots of ways you can use it for watching shows, to playing games. And we did play some games on this today. We did benchmark it, we did test it, we did the display test. We evaluated the keyboard. Let's talk keyboard, mouse, inputs. Keyboard on this is excellent. It's almost the exact same keyboard as the Legion Pro 7i. The arrow keys are different. We have a great selection of hotkeys across the top for volume up and down, pause, play, brightness up and down. You can set FN lock so that when you press F2, you can either have it press F2 by default or do volume down and up. So there's a lot of cool functionality here with the keyboard. The keys actually feels great to type on. The touchpad, I believe, is a glass touchpad. It feels great. It feels smooth. It's large and has a good click. The chassis itself is very rigid overall. There is some flex here by the space bar, but in terms of this thing feels premium. And most laptops that are around $650 to $1,000 usually don't feel as premium as this one. And that's one of the advantages that this has, because it has the, I guess, the more premium focus, the extra premium features. That's one of the reasons why we're able to actually have these extra features at this price point, because normally you'd pay a lot more money for these features. So just know that. Just know that you're getting some extra premium features. What are they? Let's go over some of these special features you get that you typically wouldn't get around this price point. First of all is Windows Hello up here at the top. You have a shutter button up here as well. You can slide this over and this will completely block off the webcam as well, giving you a red indicator up here that the webcam is blocked off. And that will also prevent Windows Hello from working. But you do have a backup fingerprint sensor down here as well, which you can use to log in, which again, normally you don't have two inputs even on more expensive laptops, but you have two login Windows Hello options, which is great. Then you have the hinge design, like I went over before. Rare to get at this price point. Very cool. Yeah, let's move on. So the port selection, I think, is good for a laptop this thin, but not as good as thicker laptops that are 16 inches, right? This is a 16-inch chassis. Normally 16-inch chassis, I would say, have a 1 to 2 or 3 more ports, depending on how port heavy they are. But for a super thin chassis like this, I think the port selection is quite good. We've got a power button, micro USB, or sorry, yeah, micro SD card slot, 2 USB-A 3.2s, which are the fast version. Then we've got an HDMI 2.1, 2 Thunderbolt 4s, and a headset port, which I think that's a great complement of ports for something that's more portable. The 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, of course, have power delivery. That's how you charge the laptop. You could use an external dock with this, including maybe an eGPU if you really want to have high-powered gaming when you're at home, and then you just have something to take with you on the go. Certainly possible to play some high-quality games that way if you wanted to go down that road. So overall, I'd say the ports give you a lot of flexibility. You can use a Thunderbolt 4 dock, but at the same time, the fact that there's 4 total USBs on a more portable focused laptop, that's good. But ideally, if this thing was thicker, I would definitely say you want 5 USB-As or 5 USBs in total, including USB-C and USB-A together. The webcam quality was a little bit above average, good detail, decent color replication, a little bit not color saturated, I would say, but overall it's quite good. And that includes a Windows Hello IR sensor with that too, so that's nice. Display brightness was 372 nits brightness, which is very bright for a $649 laptop. If this thing is full price at $1,000, that is a bit pricey, I would say, for that. I mean, it's about average. I guess 372 nits brightness at $1,000 is about average. But the color gamut was a bit low. 69% sRGB is not as high as I would ideally love. Now, you can obviously enjoy content at that level of color gamut just fine. But, for people that want to do professional video and color work, you may want a more color saturated display, or if you're just picky with your color gamut displays, you want something more saturated, you'll have to spend some more money to get a more colorful display. And that's just one of the trade-offs of this device. Contrast was 960 to 1, which was above average, the average being closer to 800 or so. Okay. Speakers on this were a little bit above average. They were not super clear. They were not super bassy. They just had decent bass, decent mids, decent highs, but they certainly broke up when you had the bass, the mids, and the highs all going at once, just because you don't have dedicated subwoofers in this. And I think that for the money, the speakers are pretty dang good. And for the laptop's thinness, they're good. But if you spend more money, you definitely can get better speakers. Even in a laptop this size, I know that some of the other Yoga books that I've tried, like the Yoga 9i, for example, that I reviewed earlier this year, had better speakers than this one that were louder, that had better bass. So again, you spend more money, you get more. But for the money, I think the speakers are pretty dang good. Fan noise testing, 44 decibels of fan noise. Was 45 decibels, 45.5 something or something like that, decibels of fan noise, and maximum high performance mode, which is like lower than most like balanced modes for most gaming laptops. So overall, the fan noise is very minimal, even in quiet mode. Like battery savings mode, we had 15 watts of power and it was like completely inaudible, could not hear it at all. But the performance was noticeably worse. We only got about 2/3 level of performance. So depending on what you want to do, if you want the high performance, of the 25 watts of the extreme performance, continuous powering. The CPU, you're gonna need to have you'll have to put up with a little bit of fan noise, but it's not severe, it's not bad, it's a nice gentle whoosh. So it's really quite good, I think, for the fan noise overall. Time Spy, we did about 1600 for the graphics score, which was a little bit lower than I ideally would like. I was hoping we'd get over 2000, but we didn't get there. That said, we were still able to play some games. Baldur's Gate 3, we were averaging 37 FPS, and in general, it was a very smooth, good experience, even though it was a recent game. It's just a very optimized game. And so I'd say that was excellent. And if FSR 3 ever comes out with frame generation, that could really boost the gaming potential performance of this, potentially. I don't know. We'll see. Counter-Strike 2. I'm getting like 45 to 60 FPS typically around Dust 2. Enough FPS to actually do some good gaming, but it's far from your ideal gaming experience. It's only a 60 hertz display, 1920 by 1200 resolution, 16 by 10, but it's just not a super fast response rate display, obviously, because it's only 60 hertz. And it's obviously not hitting consistently 60 FPS, or hopefully, ideally, if you had a high refresh rate display, you get like 150, at least 200 FPS for that high refresh rate display. Then it's obviously a lot smoother feeling and better aiming potential. So competitive shooters on this aren't really going to play that great, in my opinion. And realistically, you're probably going to want to go with something that's got native hardware that can go to a high refresh rate if you want to do esports type gaming. Depending on the esport, but like, maybe League of Legends or Dota 2, you could actually play pretty well on this. But with like something that's a Twitch shooter, nah, I wouldn't really recommend it for that. But if you just want to play with your buddies and mess around and just have fun, you could certainly play Counter-Strike 2 on this, no problem. Illuvium, we're getting around 22 FPS on average. And it's an auto chess game, so it was actually still very playable, because you put the guys on the board and then you hit play and the battle plays out, and you can see the game play pretty well, but it was fairly stuttery still. Maybe lowering the resolution, we could have boosted the FPS up into the 30s. Hard to say. But at the full 1920 by 1200 resolution, even on low settings, we were seeing some pretty severe stuttering. But that said, since it's just auto chess, it's still playable in theory. Like the game is still usable. It's smooth enough to actually put alluvials out on the board and play the game. So again, playable, but not necessarily your ideal gaming experience. Now, the one thing that is cool about gaming on this is that, you want to play Baldur's Gate 3 on the go. Playing Baldur's Gate 3 on the go, you can get that 37 FPS, the average that we were getting, whether you're plugged in or on battery, which is great. So if you want to be able to game on the go, like, this is a legitimate alternative to something like the ROG Ally or some other handheld device that has just an integrated GPU, because this can play a lot of those games. That said, obviously the Ally is more powerful than but not like massively so. So, I mean, it is more powerful for sure. And you're going to get higher FPS with the Ally, but this is still obviously capable of playing quite a few games. That's what I'm trying to say. In addition, of course, you have cloud gaming options like Xbox Game Pass, the PlayStation streaming service, the GeForce Now options. There's a lot, and there's hundreds of games that you could cloud stream to this laptop and use a controller, and it's just going to be a great gaming experience. For slower paced AAA titles in particular, you can do fast paced esports games with those cloud gamings, but it's not as good as a native hardware, in my opinion. The input lag is still noticeable to me. So yeah, that's my kind of analysis of the gaming potential of this. There's certainly gaming potential here, but it's certainly not a gamer's dream laptop for sure. But this is the laptop that is going to be perfect for someone that needs to do general tasks, multitasking, opening a browser, opening a Word document, opening Microsoft Office applications, doing light Photoshop, light video editing occasionally. It's going to do just fine. Obviously, a more powerful computer will do those video editing and Photoshop tasks faster. But you have 16 gigs of LPDDR5 memory in here with an i7-1355U processor, which is a 2 performance core, 8 efficiency core, so 10 cores, 12 threads in this laptop. It's going to be enough to do your basic multitasking just fine. That said, obviously you'll be able to do things a little bit faster with a more powerful CPU. But generally speaking, using the laptop felt snappy. Opening and closing applications, opening the browser, browsing around, it felt just like any other laptop pretty much, like maybe slightly slower in certain instances, but pretty much it's a very comparable experience to using any other computer, except this is extremely portable and multifunctional in ways that most other computers are not. Now, right now, this laptop is currently on sale for $649. There is a link in the description. So $350 off right now if you want to pick up the Lenovo Yoga 7i. Best Buy did send me this review unit. And so again, big shout out and thank you to them. That said, this live stream is not sponsored. The final summary review will be sponsored. But in this live stream, I can say whatever I'd like. So anyway, and I can say whatever I want in the main sponsorship about the product as well. But just want the audience to know that this live stream is not sponsored in any way, where the final summary review will be sponsored by Best Buy. Again, I'm all about transparency. I said that at the very beginning of the live stream in case you tuned in part of the way through. So overall, at $649, I feel like this has a lot going for it if you're not someone who's a hardcore gamer. You want a general use laptop, or maybe you're looking to buy this as a gift for someone who needs a general use laptop who isn't a gamer, right? They just want a laptop they can do their email on, they can watch Netflix on, they can browse the internet, and has good build quality, good port selection, good functionality, and likely is going to last a really long time. I feel like this is just a really great option for a general use laptop for someone who doesn't need a high performance machine. This has enough performance for general use and functionality, while at the same time providing excellent battery life and a good enough display to where you don't feel like you're at a huge disadvantage. So that's my thoughts on the Lenovo Yoga 7i. I hope you enjoyed the final summary review. I'll see you in the next one. Brandon out. That said, let's answer some questions before we end the live stream. Checking in with chat. Here we go. So if you have any questions, please drop in the chat. I'll stay on for a couple minutes looking for questions, and then we'll end the live stream. So thank you so much. Okay. YSM says, wow, they didn't ditch the fingerprint sensor because you have Windows Hello. No, this has Windows Hello at the camera and the fingerprint sensor. It has both. So that's pretty cool. Anthony says, I'm looking for a new processor. What is the best processor, Intel or AMD, for CAD program? Well, for CAD, I'm not sure how processor centric CAD is. I'm pretty sure Intel or AMD would be just fine with CAD, but you're probably going to want one of the higher core count i9s or Ryzen 9 7945HX if you go AMD, or in the Intel camp, you go with the i7 or i9 HX processors. Those have a lot more cores and threads. But in particular with CAD, I believe since it's a 3D focused application, you really want to focus on getting a great GPU in particular. So that's one where you probably would not want this laptop. You'd want to get a gaming laptop or a production work focused laptop that has a GPU that's powerful enough to really power through those animations. So yeah, I think that's all the questions I see in chat. Well, I see, okay, Matrix asks, what do you think about the Corsair laptop? I have not reviewed the Corsair laptop. That is a brand new laptop. It's got, I know which one you're talking about. It has a lot of promising specs. Initially, when it came out, I think it was a bit overpriced, but they put it on sale a few times. And the sale price, I think, is quite attractive for someone that wants a Radeon GPU. And it seemed like it had good specs overall, but I have not tried the laptop in person. So it's one of those things where like, I don't really want to recommend someone to buy a brand new laptop brand without me having checked it out, because maybe it has a lot of issues that's hard to predict. Yeah. Okay. So that's it, I think. I think that's everything that covers all of the questions in chat that popped up. Thank you so much for tuning into the live stream. I'll have another live stream with the MSI Crosshair 16. I believe that's coming up next. And then I also want to do Gaming Laptop of the Year live stream, where we go through and rate all of the laptops I've reviewed this year, which has been like a ton of laptops. So very fun. Raymond says, I'm buying the Acer Nitro 5 tomorrow. Dude, congrats. It's Avidi says, sorry to interrupt, but did you ever do your 32 gig versus 32 gig for the Pro 7i and 9i Pro? I know that's not the focus of this live, but I'm just curious. So I did do a retest of the Pro 7i versus the 9i. And I believe if you were to take all the benchmark tests, you probably would be able to compare 32 gig versus 32 gig. I'm not sure. But yeah, I did compare 16 gig versus 32 gig for sure. And then I also put in the 32 gig, and we didn't see any performance difference except I think in Hogwarts, I think, and maybe Dead Space. There's like 2 games maybe where we had a performance improvement from going from 16 to 32. But most games did not benefit from going to 32, at least in the testing that I did. There's obviously a lot of games out there though. So maybe other games like Microsoft Flight Simulator or Star Citizen would be 2 titles in particular that might benefit from 32 gigs. And you never know what future titles might look like. So anyway, that's it for the live. We'll see you in the next one.